Elizabeth Smart. At age 14, she was abducted from her bedroom in her family's Salt Lake City home and found 9 months later. Since then, she's become an advocate for abduction awareness. She came to New York this week for the Mom Plus Social Good Conference, a one-day summit targeted at improving the health of moms and children everywhere. She talked to me about her past, her life as an advocate, and her future. Welcome to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
As we speak, there are more than 200 young girls missing in Nigeria, with reports that some of them may have been sold off for $12 and sold off into marriage. And there are those who feel that the government over there isn't doing enough. The U.S. has now said that they are going to offer some assistance in looking for these young girls. What are your thoughts about this situation?
First of all, it makes me sick to think that there are human beings who can do that to other human beings, to young girls who are innocent, who are at school trying to get an education, to have a better life, to give their future children a better life. I mean, it makes me sick, and it makes me mad, and it makes me feel outraged. And I want every other country in the world to feel that same way, so that there is so much talk and so much pressure on Nigeria and on these people who are kidnapping these girls, that they will let them go. But that it shouldn't just stop there. We need to continue this conversation because it happens everywhere. To those girls in Nigeria, I want them to know that they were born with value and they will die with that same value. It does not matter what these wicked, evil people are doing to them. They will still retain that value. Doesn't matter what they tell them, they are beautiful and they are strong and they can survive and they can be happy again. I want them to know that.
You mentioned that 80% of kids that fight actually end up getting away. That's a statistic that I didn't know about.
And most people don't know about that, and that's not first reaction. I mean, I know when I was kidnapped, I didn't think I had an option. I didn't think I could fight back. There was this man standing over my bed with a knife at my neck, pulling my arm, telling me to get out of bed and go with him. And that's exactly what I did because I didn't know I had an option. And I can't say for sure that if I had fought back that I wouldn't have been kidnapped, because there's still, you know, that umpteenth percentile that even if they did fight back, they wouldn't have gotten away, but at least I would have known I had a choice. And we need to help our children understand that. And we can't just talk to them. We need to help ingrain it in them so it becomes second nature. So they don't have to, if someone comes up and grabs them, they don't have to sit there and think, wait, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? No, they just know to turn around and smack that person or bite that person.
Because this is a conversation that we've already had at home.
Yeah,
okay.
And that it's become a second nature to them.
And you brought up a man standing over your bed. This week, Michelle Knight, one of the 3 women abducted and held captive in Ohio, is revealing that during her captivity, she went outside and she saw other people, but she didn't speak up because she said she didn't want to get shot. And there were also times during your abduction experience where, yes, you saw a detective, but you also feared for your own life and for the life of your family. Can you tell me about the psychological, kind of experience that people have in that situation?
One of the questions that just makes me see red, that is probably one of the most common questions I get asked, and I want to answer this so that the same mistake isn't made, because it's not something we should be asking. We shouldn't be asking, well, why didn't you run?
Right.
That is the wrong question to ask, because none of us knows what Michelle Knight went through. She doesn't know what I went through. I mean, we can see the facts on the paper and we can read a book and we can have an idea of what happened, but until it happens to us, we don't know. And you can't say, well, if I was you, I would have run away.
Have people said that to you?
Yes, and that's wrong. Even when the police officer was as close to me as you are now, I felt I couldn't scream. I felt I couldn't run to him. I had been successfully kidnapped from my home that I thought was safest on earth. I was then taken high into the mountains and hidden away, and I could hear people searching for me, but nobody found me. So they successfully hid me away. They successfully raped me and sexually abused me every day, and no one ever stopped them. You know, they successfully chained me up. They successfully did all these things. So when they said that they would kill me or they'd kill my family, I had every reason to believe them. And that's, I can't say 100% for sure because I'm not her, but I'd say that's probably true of Michelle as well.
Well, she,
I mean,
she did
was
indicate
successfully
that.
kidnapped and all those things. She had no reason to doubt him.
Yes. Have you spoken with any of the women in that case? I know you speak with a lot of women.
I'm certainly always happy and open and willing to speak to survivors and victims, but I do know how sacred privacy is, and so I just never want to presume myself to push myself into their life. So,
I heard a speech that you gave recently in which you used the quote, "The only thing greater than fear is hope." You're also an advocate for the concept of overcoming extreme adversity under intense pressure. And your message really encourages people not to allow their past to dictate their future. How would you recommend for people that have gone through really traumatic situations like yours and other situations, how would they deal with that and get beyond it?
Everyone, there isn't a one size fits all. I wish there were. I mean, I wish it was just that easy. Everyone has to find their own path. So for some people, you know, it is going to be finding that therapist that is going to help them, that's going to work with them, that's going to take the time with them that they need. For others, it might be, I don't know, through religion. It might be through just the passage of time, because time does heal so much. It could be, I couldn't even presume to say the right path, but I know there are many, many good options out there. I know that it's hard. It's not easy. The right way always seems to be the hardest way, but I can say it is so worth it. Life is so worth living, and it is so worth being happy again. So whatever it is that you're struggling with or you're overcoming or you're working to overcome, don't give up. Keep going.
One thing that's fascinating to me is that you wrote in your book that you emerged from your personal ordeal without ongoing psychological problems, and that some people don't believe that. First of all, for the benefit of other victims, can you tell me what you did to get past?
For me, my family has been a huge support for me my entire life, and I think a lot of how I was able to walk away from what happened to me wasn't necessarily in the moments of my rescue, but it was the life that I had led before I was ever kidnapped. It was my parents' guidance and what they had taught me and what they instilled in me as a youth. I mean, whenever I fell down, they'd ask me, you know, are you going to let this keep you down? Are you going to let these girls decide whether or not you're happy? Are you going to let them make your happiness? And I guess I'm just that stubborn or just that dumb, I don't know, one of the two, that I'd always get back up and I'd always keep trying.
And you heard their voices when you were in that situation. You heard your mother's voice.
Absolutely. I knew that she would still love me despite everything that had happened. And that love, that was enough to live for, because that was something that could never be taken away from me. That was something that would always be there. And that helped me.
You know, I've learned so much from you. Even in the process of preparing for this interview, I read about the feelings of worthlessness that people get. And I came across the curriculum that had been adopted by over 60% of Mississippi school districts on sexual education. They instruct teachers to put on purity preservation exercises, like one that prompts students to unwrap a piece of chocolate and pass it around class and observe how dirty it became. And in your book, you talk about being taught that you were like a piece of gum if you were ever violated. Tell me about that.
So, first of all, you cannot put a price on human life. You cannot put a value, a number on another human being. You cannot do that. So whether it's a stick of gum or a bar of chocolate, you can't say that, you can't compare that to a human life.
And this is really an abstinence message that's basically being taught in schools.
If people believe in abstinence, and I believe in abstinence, but I would never push that on anyone else. That's a choice. That's not saying if you don't follow this, you are worthless, or you're not as, I mean, you're not as worthwhile of a human being. That's wrong. That's a personal choice that you have to make for yourself. And then, but the thing, my problem with that is that even if you do believe in abstinence, and then you are raped, how does that make you feel? That doesn't make you feel like that piece of gum or that freshly wrapped chocolate bar. No, that makes you feel like you've devalued yourself, and that you've lost something, and that you're dirty and you're filthy, and that's wrong. We can't compare the two. They're just not comparable. Each life is precious, and you choose how you live your life, but no matter what you decide, your life is still precious, and you're still of worth.
And you wrote in your book about your own feelings, that no one is going to want me.
I mean, for me, that was, and I think any human who has been raped or sexually abused would agree with me in saying that that is the worst crime that can be committed. And it does make you feel worthless. It does make you feel small and filthy and unlovable, and it makes you feel like your life has been shattered, and how could you ever go back and pick up the pieces? And that's wrong. We need to crush that stereotype and that stigma and that mindset. We need to get rid of that, because that's not how it should be looked at.
Okay.
People need to realize there's a difference between consensual, there's a difference between rape. Our words are so powerful, and they have such a great effect upon children. We need to be so careful with what we're teaching them and what we're saying.
You have testified before the Utah State House of Representatives just in March in favor of a bill that would create non-mandated curriculums for use in Utah schools to provide training on child sexual abuse prevention. What do you think are the best approaches for teaching kids? What are some of the things that can be effective?
Well, every generation is getting smarter, at least that I can see, that I can tell. Kids are just getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and we're teaching them a lot. Kids learn an awful lot. I mean, earthquake, you go get an door frame, or you get under your desk. Fire, you stop, drop, and roll. But are we teaching them anything about sexual abuse? And when it's so prevalent in our community, that is an issue we need to be addressing. How can a kid focus on a science project, or how to add 3/4 plus 5/8 at school, if he's going home every night and he's being raped by his dad's best friend, or your little girl is walking home from school and she's scared to walk past, a certain house because there's a scary guy there who comes out and talks to her and tries to get her to come inside, and she's scared that he's going to actually take her inside one day. I mean, these are things that we should be teaching them, not scaring them.
And they're much more common than a fire or an earthquake, which are the things we teach our kids to prepare for those things.
I mean, this is a life skill that every kid needs to be empowered with.
I have a question from my Facebook community. Wendy Rousseau wants to know if you could give us your top 3 things that we should teach our kids to keep them safe.
Top 3. Okay. First of all, I think it's so important for children to know that they are loved unconditionally, that no matter what happens in life, you will love them. I think that is the most important thing any parent can give to their child, to know that they're loved and that they have a value. Next, if something does happen, that they can tell you, and that they know that it's not their fault, that that you will back them up, that you will believe them, and that you will fight for them to the bitter end. And then thirdly, that they absolutely can fight back. If there isn't a grown-up, and we're always taught to be polite, which is important, I'm not saying it's not, but it is important to be polite. But if a grown-up is hurting you or making you feel bad or touching you inappropriately, grown-up, family member, friend, anyone, by all means, rip their hair out. I don't care. You know, poke their eyes out, kick them where it counts.
All right.
I mean, whatever
Yes.
it is, you absolutely have the right to fight back.
You're raising a lot of awareness. According to the United Nations, human trafficking generates $9.5 billion a year in the U.S., and the Justice Department says that a pimp can make $150,000 to $200,000 per child each year, and the average has 4 to 6 girls out there, and the average age of a victim is 13 to 14 years old. But fewer than 100 beds are available for underage victims. How does this happen? And how big of a problem is it in America? How is it that we cannot know this? We can be walking around every day and not know it.
It's a hard topic to talk about. It's a hard subject to talk about. Who wants to hear about kids being abused, kids being sold into slavery, kids being raped continually? Nobody wants to think about that because that's too close to home, because we all were either children once or have children ourselves, and it's hard. It's a nasty, hard topic, but we do need to talk about it because it's everywhere, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse. As
here in the United States,
everywhere.
Yeah.
As society progresses, it gets worse. There are new ways that are found to tempt kids online, and whenever there's a natural disaster, children are left orphaned. They're left homeless. And what happens to them? I mean, a few years ago, when there was the natural disaster in Haiti, it orphaned over 50,000 kids. Those children, they're just being picked up off the street and sold or pimped or taken across international boundaries. I mean, it's we as a world, not just a nation or a community, we as a world should abhor this so much. We should make it so difficult. We should be doing everything we can to make this as unacceptable and intolerable as possible, because we may never get rid of it, but I know that we can greatly reduce what's happening to it. And the first step to that is talking about it and not waiting for another Amanda Berry story to happen, or waiting for another T. Ortiz story to happen, or waiting for another 300 girls to go missing, to be kidnapped, not missing, kidnapped in Nigeria. This should be an ongoing conversation that we don't have to wait for something to happen. It should never end.
You've done a lot of missionary work, and you're out here now doing some incredible advocacy. Have you been able to forgive your kidnappers?
For me, that was an important point of moving on, of being able to let go of the past and embrace my life that I'm living right now. So yes, I have, but I believe there are many different levels of forgiveness, and there are many different kinds of forgiveness. And the kind of forgiveness that I might share with a friend or a sibling when we get in a fight, that's going to be completely different than the kind of forgiveness I'm going to give my captors. I have forgiven them, but with that being said, I don't want to see them. I don't want to talk to them. I'm never going to invite them over for Sunday dinner.
Right.
But
what is your
yes.
future?
Well, I have every intention of continuing the work that I'm in right now, and I don't see myself getting any less passionate about it. So I will continue working and doing everything I can to help educate people and help raise awareness and bring action to this cause. But one of my greatest ambitions myself is to become a mother and be the kind of mother that my mom was to me. And what a great moment this is, because Mother's Day is on Sunday. So.
And you met a young man and moved on and got married.
Yes.
You're a beacon of light for millions of people across this country in this world, and I know that you'll be out the front lines. You really handled yourself so well up there this morning or earlier today, and you're just a powerful influence on everybody. Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you very much.
And I hope to have you back soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Elizabeth Smart.
Thank you.
And with Elizabeth Smart, I'm Lee Hawkins. We'll see you next time.